I'll raise my hands, okay? We are live, and we are back with our team guys and with Buttons Heyns and Luke Stammy. And we're going to be talking about the rest of how to develop your team. And these guys are majorly into sports teams, but the team development part is very important because it comes back to how to run your business. It's the same thing that you have to do in a team, right, guys? So, Luke, introduce yourself again, and Buttons as well, and then we'll get back into what stage of the team building we're going to be talking about today.
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Luke Stamatiadis, or Stammy as I was introduced. I am the head coach for Kamikaze Inline Hockey Club in Windhoek, and I am the assistant coach for the junior men and ladies national team.
Yes, good afternoon from Swakopmund. I'm Buttons Heyns from Connect People to People, and I'm the head of team building in the company, and I work closely with Luke and his team in developing his team to get them to become champions.
Yeah, and he's family. I don't know how to point this. He's family.
Yeah, I'm family. I'm the cousin of Veronica, and yeah, hope to see you the end of the year if you can fly.
Yeah. That's another story, right? Back in and out of COVID, and not being able to move, and all the struggles we have with our businesses and teams, and how to get everybody together and how to work together and to build our businesses, because it's been a long time since March, right? With you guys as well, because we started, I think early March, we started closing down. It was dreadful. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today, Buttons? Which part of the development of a team are we going to be talking about?
So last week we touched on the 4 stages of development of a team, and what I said is we touched on the forming and the storming stages. So the forming stages, more like a honeymoon. The honeymoon is over now. The forming stage is where you've now sussed each other out. People are a little bit more comfortable with each other, not so comfortable. There can be a little bit of still stress and not roles that's clarified. But today we're talking about the norming and performing stages. So after you've gone through these stages, and you must remember as a coach or as a team leader or as a business leader, it's important to see the signals, check the signals, see the signs in different stages, because some of these stages can run simultaneously. So that's what we touched on last week. So the norming stage is I think quite important in the sense this is where things are normalizing. The teams are obviously known to each other. The people are known to each other, and the roles are more clear. Mm-hmm. And also that you're going to tasks now. You have to now start doing what you're supposed to do. So and I know this was difficult for sports teams this year because it was a stop and start situation, and we only now back to 50 people, but it's also very difficult to do sports with 50 people. And then also in this stage, obviously the team are now working towards goals. They know the responsibility. There's also a better collaborative about the team, and so it's starting to get to the stage where you can go to sort of ultimate performance, but we're not there yet. And this is a very important stage, emerging through these phases. And you as a coach have to identify with yourself and with the team where are you at the moment and what's the situation at the moment. So Luke, tell us maybe about you've now started training again a little bit. Then it's sort of start, stop. But I think you slowly but surely get to a point where you can normalize now. From a perspective of a coach and as a team leader, also tell us a little bit about your norming stage at the moment.
Thank you. So at the moment, we had our first national camp with the national players about 2-3 weeks ago. And I mean, that had been the first time that everybody had met since the beginning of the year, basically.
Wow.
Mid-April, mid-March. So, where the national team is, I think that the norming phase had already taken place. The team had been together for quite a while. They'd had quite a few training camps. So we pretty much kicked off where we left off. These are all athletes that have been playing for quite a while and playing together for quite a while. So it was easy to find the dynamic within the group again. Whereas at club level, you're dealing with 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, up to 45-year-olds. I think our oldest players in his 50s. So finding the balance, you're going to go through different stages at different times with different groups. My younger groups take a lot longer to get to the norming phase. It's more of a group progression over their hockey career, where right in the beginning you want to keep them having fun, and once they get to about 12 or they're a couple of years into their development, then the storming phase happens where we're going to focus on what we need to focus on, and it's a bit more goal orientated, and then they get to kind of their 14-15-year-old age, and you're in that norming phase already, and you're preparing them to be able to maybe be eligible for that national team or playing for your first team, which would then be the performing phase. So you're breaking it down over a much longer cycle.
Yeah, exactly. So the difficulties you've had with your teams is basically trying to go through these stages and dealing with the isolation that you have to have. And I know Namibia has been on and off the same here as well. And then making that decision, okay, we're going to get everybody together and hoping everybody stays healthy. Have you had any cases or anything that's happened within the team, or has it been pretty stable?
Not that I've been aware of. People have decided to take breaks because of their concerns.
Yes.
There's been a few cases of people that have decided to self-isolate because they've been in contact with somebody.
Yes.
But as far as I know, nobody was involved with the club.
Yes.
It's just,
that's fabulous. And so what are you going to do? Sorry, Buttons. So what are you going to do from now? What are you preparing for?
Good question. We've got national trials happening in 3 weeks. So there's about 30 to 40 players that would be going to try out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got our national finals or our national championships that has been condensed into one event that's taking place middle of December. So
wow,
we spent the first. Yeah, well, normally we have 6 tournaments a year that we competing in. Now we're doing it for one, and we've got to see who's available. I mean everybody's used their leave. Parents have used up their leave. People have been fighting to keep their businesses open, as everybody's aware of. So it's going to be very much a case of who can go. Great, let's prepare you as best we can, and just go and enjoy it for what it is. This year, nothing has been normal.
Yes.
So.
Okay, Buttons.
So Luke, apart from the national championships, and that's the end of the year. The near championships. Yeah. That's going to be the end of the year. So what are the national team, what are they preparing for? Or is it just to keep them busy and occupied and ready for next year?
That's it. We actually got good news this week or last week that the dates for World Championships have been announced. It's going to be in August, and that'll be next year in Colombia. So they've kept the same venue that it was supposed to be at this year. It's just been moved over to next year. So some of the players have aged out. They're too old to be on the junior national team now, which is a big pity because it would have been their last year. It would have been the peak of their performance here in that division. it's unfortunate that they've aged out, but we've got a lot of good young talent coming up, and keeping the team together, keeping the core of that team together, and the ethos of that team.
Yes.
And if you've got experienced players that are now taking over the reins, then when the young players come in, they get taught the way, shown that this is how you perform, this is how you behave. The pecking order works itself out quite quickly within the team as well.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, because this morning I actually attended a webinar that was done by the University of Johannesburg and the TBI, Team Building Institute of South Africa, where they did a case, or they actually spoke about the case study of the University of Johannesburg's sport teams, and they've now taken these teams through different levels. And also it was difficult for them because they had 1 or 2 sessions in the beginning of the year, physical sessions face to face, and now they couldn't do that, so they opted for the online sessions, which was good. And they also did a session with our national Namibian team a few weeks ago. But what I wanted to say is, and they didn't actually touch on the development stages, but what came out quite nicely was that also they were working on the thinking preferences of the different teams. First of all, introducing the thinking preferences, and then later on doing the profiles, albeit a little bit shorter profiles this time, and eventually working to a whole brain team. So what we have started already with Luke and some of his teams is that we sort of introduced, and I think then they were at the norming stage, we introduced thinking preferences a little bit, what we call reviewing the square, where you ask a few questions of them and you can see where they fit in.
Yeah.
But what was nice to also hear today was where you can actually fit in this, the thinking preferences, getting to a whole brain team in your development stages. So for you as a club now, going towards the end of the year, and that's all about medals and tags, as you call them, is to get your teams ready now, get them to a level where they can move on from the norming stage to the performing stage, and also introducing the thinking preferences so that you can think as a whole team. And I don't want to elaborate too much on it, but what was quite interesting is that how different colors of your thinking style influences your decision making on the team. When will you take risk? When will you not take risk? What will your game plan be? How will you anticipate your opponent, etc., etc. So that's also important in the stages as you develop. So with a norming stage, I think also important is to have more social gatherings together. Also, people are feeling more comfortable with each other, and you must build on that cohesion that's already existing there.
So when you're using the color stage, and I know when I owned my recruiting company, that's how I used to determine whether somebody was in fact suited to a job. And also the immediate supervisor, I would get them to do what you call a preference sheet, but I think it's like a personality test, right? Yes, aptitude personality test, and then see if you and the supervisor can work together. Because if there's a clash, that's not going to work. So a lot of businesses don't do that, and I think it's so important to have that cohesive team, especially if you have a smaller team, all working together and knowing how they're going to react in certain situations. And just in good morning, how are you? And don't talk to me this morning. Don't give me too many details, right? So I think it's very interesting that you guys are using the personality tests within a team as well, which is super, as Buttons says, super important.
Yeah, well, actually what we're doing is we're doing the thinking preferences, and then when we do the profiles, we obviously call in Team Building Institute. So what we will be doing next with Luke is we will do a thinking profile of him, a complete profile, and then we will do, say, shorter versions of the athletes, and then we will see they will self-understand, obviously also understand their teammates better, also understand the coach better, coach will understand the teams better.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
then the grouping will be better, and then you'll have a more effective team eventually.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's, I think, also important for a national team eventually when we get to the performing stage. This is actually where it comes into fruition, where you will then try and develop that whole team as a whole brain team, so that decisions that are made instinctively will the team will recognize it. They will know why it's being done because they will have worked out their plan beforehand. But they won't be surprised if somebody jumps out of the box and does something that was not planned at all.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the type of thing. That's the type of thing that you would want. So that's where we're trying to go with Luke's team, and obviously if we possibly can, and we can get to the stage where we can start working with the national team, that'll obviously be an ultimate goal for us to get there.
That's wonderful.
So I think also difficult this year with your clubs, especially now, to get through the norming stage. You'll probably go to and fro, backwards a little bit, forwards a little bit, but eventually you do want to get to the performing stage, which is the optimal level of performance that you want to achieve. So where the team can now work independently, they understand themselves, they understand each other, they understand the way that they think and that the team think, and that's important because then the team cohesion will be better, the team thought process will be better, also the decision-making process will be easier, and you also develop a pride in your group. Still very important in this performing stage is where you will have to keep the group together, obviously socialize as well, so that they can bond together. And obviously, in the end of the day, you want your team, whether it's a business team, a sports team, or a whatever group, if they can function as a family, obviously much better.
Yes, exactly. It must have been really hard this year, because you're not playing that many games. There's not that we won, type of attitude to actually keep that whole feeling of a team continuing through this whole thing, right?
Yeah. Look, especially with the younger players, I think, because that's what we identify with a lot. A lot of the kids that were coming during lockdown or when we were limited, they were getting their win by being on the ring.
Yeah.
So, they were still getting that satisfaction. But like I mentioned last week, the older guys, they wanted to be able to sit down and have a beer afterwards, or just at least see everybody's faces, and just it was their downtime. And fortunately, most of us are in contact quite a lot, and WhatsApp groups have been a big part of keeping that team chemistry going, especially in the older crowds, with the older groups. So when we did get back to playing, and I'm talking about the seniors now, when they did get back to playing, the emphasis was more on seeing each other again.
Yes.
The social aspect.
Yes, I bet. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think this year there was a lack of achievement because there were no competitions, so you couldn't actually gauge them, and that's obviously difficult in a sense. But I think if it normalizes next year, it might get much better. And when we start having normal competitions again, we will probably have to reassess and look at the signs of where's my team now, my club now? Where's my national team now? And reassess between those to get to an optimal level of achievement and practice.
And you also got to look at the different aspect of it. It's still a business, right? You're still running a business. It's not a charity. So you go, so that I think for most businesses, it has been a challenge to how are we going to make money? You don't have the tickets. You're not selling the tickets. And so how do you run as a business? And the same thing, if you have a team of salespeople, they have to adjust to selling differently. How do you get people to buy your stuff, right? So it's been very interesting to see businesses develop through this whole thing and coming up with new ideas. So what have you guys done to keep the business running? Not just the teams, but the actual business. Luke.
In terms of the club,
yes.
Yeah, sure. We've tried to do fundraising. The second we were allowed to have people on the rink again, we quickly hosted a tournament and got as many people here as we could. The kitchen was open, just getting people back onto the rink.
Yes.
It has been a challenge. It really has. I spent the first month or so of lockdown, when we were on our hard lockdown and not allowed out the house. We were trying to get the kids to engage with online training, where we would do some demonstration videos, and then that was their homework assignment. And it worked well for about the first 2-3 weeks. And I think because they were doing homeschooling at
yes.
the same time, they were just so sick and tired of looking at a screen,
yes.
having somebody telling them
what to do.
That third week, the engagement just disappeared.
Yeah.
Everyone had enough.
Yeah.
The kids had enough
yes.
at that screen. Fortunately, we were out of that phase after a month, and we had to get creative again by not being allowed to skate on the rink. We would get people here in groups of less than 10, through some fitness tests, play whatever game we were allowed, so throwing a ball around, whatever it was with ball skills. We did that for about a month, and constantly engaging with the sports commission to just find out what can we do, what can't we. Can we do this?
Yes. No.
What are we allowed to do? The second we were allowed to put skates on, but kids' faces just lit up.
Oh, I bet.
Can we rent the skates
yes.
today?
Yes.
And so we spent another full month just working on skating, which was good because sometimes you neglect these things when you've got such a busy year. Like I said, we're normally preparing for about 6 tournaments throughout the year. So a lot of things, unfortunately, do get swept by the wayside. And in this time, we've managed to focus on some fundamental things because you couldn't actually do anything else. So there was a positive that you could take out of it in that sense.
That's wonderful. I mean, so many businesses are affected by, the different way of doing business. Buttons and I have talked about how to pivot your business now, and it is a challenge. Like I said, what are we going to do next? Hello, right?
Yeah,
jumping up and down. I'm here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's important, obviously, to for it not only for the team members that actually play the game, but also for the surrounding your families, your committee, your support base, to also keep them on a performance level, and also they also going through the same stages that the players are going. Because if there's active training, you will see it's like a beehive. You'll see all the parents there. They come and go. There's interactivity. But now you've tried to interact with them online, which is now, like Luke said, the physical education, the sessions of goalie sessions, the training sessions. But it's not as effective sometimes. And to keep a club going and running, it's also getting your subs paid, motivating the people. Why do they have to pay? Because there's no training.
Yeah.
So the businesses did make some calls to sort of lower lower the subs, and then eventually pick it up as the economy gets better. Yeah, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. I've got a, as I told you guys, I've got a e-commerce retail store that sells stuff, hockey sticks and stuff, to teams and to obviously individuals, and they've they've had to hang in there because nobody wants the newest, and the challenge was as well is, so you want the newest hockey stick, but the manufacturers have closed down, so they haven't even started making the newest sticks, right? So, and then you run out of them. But what I've noticed is the teams are starting to order their shirts, their hats, whatever they need, which is really, really encouraging. We just hope that this doesn't go skewed again, right? So yes. So anyway, so
Yeah,
next
I think
week.
so.
Sorry, Buttons.
Yeah, I think just maybe to summarize, I think it's still important that in your performing stage you keep balance, and
Yes.
that you don't lose the perspective of where you are, and obviously you want to sustain the level of performance that you're having.
Yes.
So for a coach or a team leader or a business leader, it's important to gauge where the team is, to maybe interact, look out for the signals and signs. If you have to go back a little bit to the previous stage, and then come back a bit, or if somebody new comes along, you have to introduce them, not necessarily do the phase again or the development stage again, but just get the new person on board, and there's certain tools that you can use for that. So that's important, and the importance of this stage is to keep pushing and keeping the balance,
Yeah.
and going forward, and don't lose sight of where you're actually aiming for. Although this year it was difficult, but still it might give us more time to prepare and be ready for the next World Championships, and even do much better than before.
Yeah.
So I think, Luke, thank you very much for keeping the guys positive there, and send my regards to Dave there and keep him on his toes.
Yes.
Thank you. I will do. Keeps everybody on its toes.
Hopefully we'll be in Colombia next year, right?
Fingers crossed.
Next
Yes.
year.
Okay.
In August.
So what are we going to talk about next week when we come back on again, Buttons?
I'll let you know, but I think it's more the communication of team members and how they communicate, upper communication, downer communication. So we'll have a look at that.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you being here. It's late in the day for you. I just started my day, and we will be back next week talking about some team building. Cheers.